Good evening. Welcome to another live edition of Pittsburgh Sportsline in the BPTV studio. Thanks for watching our show. I'm Al Levine, the Talking Machine. We got Chip Hayner. We got Smoking Jim Frazier. Ah, there we go. He got the two masks because every time he steals a mask from BPTV. But that's the type of guy he is. We're glad to be presenting another show during our COVID pandemic. And we'll leave that go at that. Hope you're healthy and safe. We have some sports to talk about, good and bad, and you'll hear how Smokin' Jim says the only essential sport is NFL. And he's an honest man, so we won't question that. But I do have some promos to show you. First up, we got Ethan on camera. We got Anthony in the console. This is Olive Oil's Pizzeria. We don't want to eat pizza outside because I'm here early, Chip's here early, and we have other people come in after that, not mention any names, Smoking Jim, but so I'm not waiting outside when it's raining for him. And luckily we got some rain today, folks. So the thunder sounded good. It reminded me of the 4th of July. I never heard so many fireworks around my house till 2 in the morning, and I know other people in Bethel were talking about it. They were nonstop.
Wow.
And I even saw some were pretty nice and flashy. They were firing them at the lower end of the cemetery. So I looked out the front window, saw some great fireworks. So thank you very much, people. I appreciate it. But Olive Oil's Pizzeria, 412-831-1900. Call them up. They're open for service. They'll make your pizza and Italian food. It's always great there. Tell them Al Levine, the Talking Machine, sent you there to get out of the house and don't cook tonight. So get some pizza and spaghetti and everything. Next up, we honor each show with Joey Fabus, Stay Joey Strong. The Joey Fabus Cancer Foundation, you can donate money or time. They do a lot of events. They've raised over $100,000 to honor Joey, and they get the doctors to try to find a cure for DIPG, the brain cancer that killed him at 9 years old. So check that out. Next up, another nonprofit. Here we go. Look at that, right in the middle. Bethel Park Historical Society Schoolhouse Arts and History Center, 2600 South Park Road. You can't miss it. Has a big red trolley right in front there. They're a nonprofit. You can check them out, donate money or time. They do a lot of repairing to the old schoolhouse from 1910. And they put the old bell that was at the high school, they put that up in the cupola on top of the roof, a new roof, $150,000 roof, all new windows. They have businesses there, they do different events, they have a library, they got old uniforms from the World War I and II, and even the Korean War, I think, so check that out. They got school books going back through Bethel Park's history here, so check out the Bethel Park Historical Society Schoolhouse Arts and History Center. Next up, another nonprofit, Bethel Park Community Foundation. They have money for you, $100,000 to $5,000 for your group in Bethel Park doing great things in the community. Get an application online, bpcf.org. Come there when we have meetings, and I'm a trustee on the board. If you have a great idea or a great group that's doing things, we'll get money to you. They've put out over 25 years, $975,000 to groups in the Bethel Park area. And we're hoping to pass this year over $1 million, or if not next year because of this pandemic. We haven't had too many meetings, so we will see, but check that out. Next up, Dave Cable likes to have a little fun at my expense. Look at that, very well centered. Thanks for Anthony for setting it up, and Ethan's minding the camera for us. It's I Want You for BPTV. You can be on camera, you can be on sound, you can do both in the control room. I Want You for BPTV, 412-831-3304. Call and leave a message or talk to Dave Cable. Say Al Levine, the Talking Machine, said I can help out at the studio. And when you go on location, eventually we can do stuff like that. So check that out. Next up, I have a little promotion for a show we're supposed to do. It's WE21. It's a Roberto Clemente nonprofit that they practice teaching teams and people how Roberto Clemente was respectful and a kind religious man and his philosophy with people and teams. August 22nd, we're supposed to do a show, Smoking Jim and I, interviewing guests. We'll be at the Afro-American Musical Institute in Homewood, and people are welcome to go there. They're going to charge a certain amount. They haven't told me what the prices are. Details are to follow. This is an old flyer that I had that we were supposed to do it in March, but it didn't happen. So we're hopeful that we can do this with social distancing and masks and all that other good stuff for a great night of gumbo.
Yay!
And Smoking Jim can't wait. They've been doing this for 30, 40 years.
Hey, hey, Jim, when they say gumbo, they didn't mean like Hubba Bubba.
Well, Smoking Jim will find out. They got their own recipe, and Smoking Jim, it's a secret. They won't tell anybody. They won't tell anybody what's in it and how they made it, but it's supposed to be delicious. So we'll check that out. Next up, we have a sponsor for What's on Your Mind, Skeet Lewandowski of Skeet Service Station, 6103 Route 88. Just had my car inspected there, so we made it. Call 724-348-4715. They work on anything and everything that runs on gas. Weed whackers.
Did you get it sanitized?
Everything.
Okay.
Everything. Deep cleaning, sanitized, you named it.
Nice.
They showed me where some springs are getting a little worn out. In the next year or two, I needed a new spring. My vehicle's only 17 years old, so I understand. Maybe the time it's 20, it'll need something. But they pointed out some things to watch on, and it's always a good place. Trucks, cars, boats, you name it, they work on it. They even got into doing some electrical machinery and handy tools that you use in neighborhoods, cutting weeds, weed whackers, hedge trimmers, and other things like that. They can help you out. So check it out. They're a good place. They even do axles and powertrains. You name it. They have a forge. They showed me the forge again. And Skeet showed me twisted some railroad ties, and they got a twist around it, and they're making them into knives. So they got all kind of stuff there. And I got to mention that when I went there on the Monday, he had some things called sprats. They're like anchovies. So he goes, Talking Machine, would you like some crackers and sprats? So he gave me that. Then he had some garlic to eat and a couple other things. So that was a smorgasbord. So it was quite eclectic.
Yeah, I would say he knows that you don't have a woman to go home to. So,
Right. Exactly. And
because that would clear the house.
Right. And that works out well. And people know I'm cooking fish and different things on Facebook. Smoking Jim found out not only can I eat, but I can cook.
Had no idea.
And now, thanks to all the friends and fans telling me I should do a cooking show. So I even had to give a couple tips. A couple people asked how I cook it, and I told them I bake it.
Talk to my wife.
Yeah. Well, I know she can cook.
Yes, sir.
Well, as she had mentioned, I could cook too. So
Yeah, she said your fish game is strong.
thank you very much. All right, Smoking Jim, what's on your mind?
Thanks, Al Levine, the Talking Machine. And if you want the green,
Overhand.
you got this.
How was that pitch? Right down the middle?
That was good.
Looked like a Pat Mahomes special.
Wow.
With $45 million coming behind it, right?
Per
And
year.
hey, did you go to pasta too to get the eggplant?
Not yet. I didn't want to wait in the line. Seriously, we went the other day. There were 25 cars in the parking lot around dinner time.
Yeah.
25 cars. The money they're making is
Nobody's food
unbelievable.
that's that good. And I'm waiting 25 cars to eat it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I
right.
left.
In Monroeville, you should see, is it Chick-fil-A?
Oh, yeah.
I've never
Same
seen
way in
lines like-
Southland.
Is that
lines around the building
It's,
in Southland
Yeah.
on 51? I drive by it every
Yeah.
day. The only day that you
Every
don't
day.
see a line? No.
It's Sunday.
Yeah, there you
Yeah,
go.
'cause
They're closed. The other day, my son Drew, he goes, "Hey, Dad, you want to go for Chick-fil-A?" I go, "You buying? I'm driving." So we go to the one right on Washington Road.
How long?
We hit it there about 7 o'clock, 7:15. One or two people at most. The other day, we were the only one in line.
About
I
200
drive by that
cars
one
in
5 days a
Monroeville at
week.
that time.
Yeah.
And the lines, I
It's
bet,
circles.
well, it's probably a quarter to a half mile long, and it goes around the building
Yeah.
like
Right.
several
Yeah,
times. And,
exactly.
And we get
it's
their
insane.
number 7 meal,
The food
chicken, egg, and cheese bagel.
Alan.
Oh, so you 7 in the morning.
Yeah.
Oh.
Breakfast.
I want to tell you, it's a decent sandwich.
Yeah.
But it ain't worth waiting in any kind of line for. Trust
That's
me.
my point. That's why
Trust
I'm
me.
early. We get in there early. It's about 5 minutes from my house.
Well, Al Levine, the talk machine, you know more about black people than anybody I know.
You bring up the race card smoking Jim every time.
I've never heard it, so can you hum a few tunes of the black national anthem?
I'm so outraged. I'm glad you brought it up because
Come on, Chip. I
can
know
you
know
spell hypocrite? What happened to Roger Goodell, who's the god of NFL? He refused Colin Kaepernick when they were talking about social injustice. Now, because of all this, they've endorsed it 100% because of somebody named George Floyd. And what sport did he play? So how did the NFL put this hypocrisy out there? I love watching football, but the first game that they play, I'm not watching it when they do that. I'm going to protest.
Have you ever heard of it? I never heard of it.
No,
Have
and that's
you, Chip?
that's my point.
I
today.
have not yet.
All right, next week I want you guys to
But I'm sure I will soon. But it doesn't seem like it's going to be in the preseason.
But hey,
Thanks
how about,
for that, Smokey.
How about the light-skinned quarterback for Kansas City Chiefs? What's his name?
We don't know.
Mahomes?
No.
10 years, $450 million.
Yeah.
Wow. Man,
Right.
these Steelers going to have a hard time paying Duck in a few years, brother.
Well, I'll explain why he won't have a tough time paying Doc. They aren't.
Yeah.
Because he did
Neither will
something.
anybody else.
Mahomes did something that nobody's done.
yeah, he set the bench his rookie year.
Yeah,
Yeah, nobody's ever done that.
No, that's part of my point.
Oh.
So after that, he built a foundation.
Okay.
He won MVP of
Yeah.
the league.
Yeah.
Now, how many players have done that under 25?
Well, Ducks played better as a rookie
No,
than he
I
did.
asked you a direct question. Quit getting like Trump.
Oh, President Trump.
No, Trump.
Nobody.
Okay.
Yeah, nobody.
And then he's MVP of what? They won the Super Bowl last year. Think back.
Yeah.
It seems like it was forever that happened. He's the only guy in the NFL under the age of 25 to do that. So your Doc is so far behind.
No, he's ahead of him
He
right
can't even catch up.
now. He's ahead of him right now. 'Cause he
3
did
and
better-
3.
He did better than him as a rookie.
3 and 3.
Mahomes only played in one game his rookie
3.
year.
Here, 3 and 3. What does that do for a full season? 3 and 3 means they don't want to
4
be
and 3.
great.
4 and 3.
I thought it was 3 and 3.
I count the Cincinnati game.
No.
Don't.
No,
But
3 and 3.
but hey, we missed you at Bill Boyce's house.
I knew you
He
would.
had a pig roast.
Yeah,
And when I grew up, my favorite breakfast was cow brains and grits.
yeah,
First time I ate the pig brains.
yeah.
And I tell you what, man, I ate that pig from the rooter to the tutor. That was good, man. We missed you out there, brother. But hey, I got to
Thank you.
apologize to you and Chip. I never thought in this country they would play non-essential sports like hockey and baseball. But it looks like they're going to play it, so congratulations. You guys are right.
One
on
little
that.
disclaimer. Baseball may not get off the ground.
Really?
I got this.
He
Okay.
gonna have to. And
I
as
got
I
this.
wind up, so I can get the Chip, I don't think it'll ever happen. If anybody's ever been to a Washington Redskin football game, and I've been to many, when the fans start singing "Hail to the Redskins,"
Yeah.
that's a big deal. But I do think the Cleveland Indians will change their names. I was thinking maybe Cleveland Potholes, but if I'm Cleveland, there's two choices: either Cleveland Lakes or the Cleveland LeBron James or Cleveland James, because he did so much for the franchise. But
Hold
do
it.
you
He
think-
didn't do it for the Indians.
Yeah, you're right.
Sorry.
But
You're getting crazy
yeah.
on me.
But
You
do
got to
you
read a
think
book so you know that.
Do you think the Redskins will change their name? I don't think they will.
I think
As long
Snyder
as
has
they
said
have
he
Snyder.
won't. And how
Yeah.
about what happened? Unlike you and him, 3 of the owners, minority owners, are getting out because of that.
Here's the reason why I believe the name will get changed. When the money starts drying up, Daniel Snyder's going to start listening. Nike pulled all their gear off their websites, so they're not selling any more Redskins gear. And FedEx, who what their stadium is named after, they're talking about pulling their money. Now, money talks, my friend.
Well, you
Now,
know,
I heard one of the names, and I was talking to Alan off the camera earlier. One of the names that's being bandied about as a change is to call them the Washington Red Tails. And the Washington Red Tails
Tell them the
would
history
be
of that.
in honor of the Tuskegee Airmen because their aircraft were painted with red tails.
And explain to them about
Okay,
that.
Same
so
colors, too.
that would be a tribute to the African American soldiers that flew and fought in the Second World War. But we'll see what
How
happens.
is that
I mean,
supporting- How's
Daniel.
that supporting the Indians? What's that doing for the Indians?
Indians are gone. It's
Yeah.
disrespectful.
If
We
you got-
took their
you guys
country-
Because the name Redskins is referred to as a derogatory term towards Indians, and they feel that is derogatory. So I believe that ultimately, time has come for the name to change.
So change.
And at one time, I was very adamant about them not changing the name, but it's a different world we live
Every
in
name
2020.
is not derogatory towards Indians. Pick one that's
No,
good for the
and I
Indians.
Why
agree
does it
with you
have
there.
to be
I
Indians?
agree with
Why
you.
does it got to be black?
No.
Why does it got to be the
It doesn't.
Redskins?
Well, because 70% of the NFL is African American, in case you didn't know.
He knows.
I mean, it would seem to make sense. And I don't understand how a name like the Cleveland Indians is offensive to anybody because
Exactly.
it's not a defamatory word that they're using to describe Indians. They're Indians, okay? And so, that's not a decision that I get to make.
And
I
if you
mean,
ever heard if you
because
ever
at
heard
Jim,
the
right
fans-
now, it's in the court of public opinion, and that changes when the wind blows.
Remember this. Always remember this, Chip. You remember this too, and I'm going to close with this. The NFL is the only organization that profit shares. So Nike jumping off and FedEx jumping off ain't doing nothing to the bottom line. Nothing.
Oh, it
'Cause They
is.
all
Oh, it
profit
is.
share.
No, it is because
Oh!
here's what you don't understand. It's simple math. I taught my kids this. 1 + 1 = 2. Now, they have 2. Now they're going to have 1.5 or 1 because they'll have less money come into the 8 or 9 billion that they get each year. Do you understand that math?
You don't think that the
They
Nike
won't
can be
recoup
replaced,
that.
FedEx can be replaced?
No.
They profit share.
No. Profit sharing and replacing an advertiser are two
Right.
different things.
But when their share of the profits that they're sharing is less than the other teams are getting, okay, there's going to be something said about that. Mark my words.
See, it's obvious you two's never
You
been
gotta
to a
follow the
Redskin
money.
game
You
when they
gotta-
sing hell to the Redskins. If you did, you wouldn't want
follow
that name
the
changed.
money, my friend.
That doesn't mean anything, and your logic doesn't even add up. 1 + 1 = 2, fans.
Right.
Smoking Jim went
So-
to Gateway, so we're going to leave that alone, and we're going to What's on Your Mind, Chip Hayner.
Well, thank you very much, Alan, and welcome everybody to our humble sports talk show, minus the fact that there's live sports to watch. And, let me go on the record right now as saying there is nobody in here that wants to see live sports again more than me. I want to see the game of baseball being played. I want to see hockey being played. I want to see basketball being played. And yes, I even want to see the NFL played. Okay? However, I am highly doubtful that we will see live sports this year. And let me just give you a few quick examples of some of the things that are going on right now. Baseball came out with a 130-page agenda for how they're going to handle these COVID tests. We're going to test them every other day, and we're going to do everything to promote safety. And now the teams are not even getting the tests back 72 hours after the tests were taken.
They're appalled.
So much so that 3 teams yesterday shut down spring training 2.0. Today, the San Francisco Giants shut it down because they can't get their tests back, and they're afraid to send players
They don't want players
out
to get sick.
because somebody may have the virus and could be spreading it to other people. So there are flaws in the system. They didn't think this through. Well, then the NHL was being applauded for having the most comprehensive agenda for how to deal with it. And if you were to read it, War and Peace would be like considered a paperback novel.
A short one.
And how is anybody going to be able to follow through on all of the
Little
of the
minutia,
mandates?
yeah,
Now, next up, you've got the NBA. The NBA is moving all their players to a bubble in Orlando, Florida, where they have the highest amount of positive cases in the world. It's even higher than New York, when there were it's almost 1,000 people die in a day
Right.
back in March. Okay, so now what they're going to do is they have these protocols put in place, and the players have to abide by them. But do you really think they are? So they've already started that there will be an anonymous tip line, so that players can rat on other players who are breaking the protocols. Isn't this going to lead to a beautiful team environment where you've got players ratting on other players? There's going to be fist fights. There's going to be positive tests. Third and lastly, and I pose a question to my dear friend Jim Frazier. When I mention the word Bruce Arians, what is your first response?
Genius, Hall of Famer, greatest coach in the NFL.
Okay, so Bruce Arians this afternoon was quoted as saying, now Bruce Arians, keep in mind, is a cancer survivor, okay?
I didn't know that.
He is somebody that is
He'd be even bigger.
a high risk.
He'd be a
And
bigger
he
man.
said, you know, where I'm concerned about safety, and I'm concerned about my safety being a cancer survivor, but he goes, every player in the NFL is going to get this, and there's nothing that they can do to stop that. What do you think the chances of playing football are if you believe already that no matter what you do, that everybody is going to test positive? Last but not least, the head of the NFL Players Association, he plays for the Cleveland Browns. He said that the NFL is not concerned about the safety of the players. Wow. They are trying to force 2 preseason games, regardless of anything. The players do not want to play any preseason games. So if you can't play preseason games, how do you prepare to play contact football? Because everybody knows, and Jim played football, that you've got to play
He's
your
been hitting
way
the head a lot of
into
times.
shape by hitting in practice.
Look at his head.
How is this going to happen?
No offense, man.
They have not thought it through, and Roger Goodell is adamant and has got his mindset. We're playing games. We're going to do it. Nothing is going to deter us from that. But what happens when a dozen players on a team test positive and games have to start getting canceled? It would be more catastrophic to the league to start the season and to have to shut it down. And I think even though their intentions are good to provide us with professional sports again and a diversion, I don't see how it's going to happen. That's what's on my mind.
Wow. Thank you, Chip Painter.
Good job, Chip.
Appreciate it. What's on my mind is I saw something so egregious the other day that President Trump tweeted out. I just wish at 74 years old that he didn't have 63 million on Twitter so they hang on everything he says. But I'm a sports guy, and I want to say hi to my neighbors, Ed and Tiffany and Anna. They said they saw our show last week with us wearing masks, and they said it was a good show. They appreciated it.
Thank you.
Yeah, so they did like it. And Ed owned the River City Inn, so he said hi to Smoking Jim Frazier.
Yay!
So, all right, Bubba Wallace. Never could even imagine that somebody would say this was a hoax about a noose that was not found by Bubba Wallace. It was a member of his team in NASCAR. This was reported, and whether you believe it's fake news or not, but I believe there still are some journalists that aren't just putting opinions out, they're using facts. And it's unusual, since I grew up in a newspaper family and worked for the Pittsburgh Press and Post-Gazette, I trust there are some journalists. So they reported that NASCAR was calling it a hate crime. Now let me emphasize NASCAR, not Bubba Wallace. It was found in where his car was at. He never saw it. He never knew about it. They told him about it. So anybody that's that naive that just believes a Twitter account by, Trump, I'm appalled by it because I'm a sports guy. The politics you can have, I respect everybody's opinion, and I agree to disagree with you if I don't believe it. So that's how simple I am. But this tweet was so bothersome because he said Bubba Wallace should apologize to all the people that backed and supported him during this hoax, which again, folks, I got to repeat because he mentions this stuff all the time. It was not a hoax. The FBI investigated it, said the noose was in there since last October. They researched when it was there, and there were 11 other nooses, although this one looked like a hangman's noose, to explain so everybody understands. The 10 other nooses didn't look like that, but there were 11 out there, and I heard it was over like 1,700 stalls that were there. So to me, I go to Smokin' Jim just earlier, 1 + 1 = 2. So if Bubba wasn't involved in it, was just told about it because he's the only black race car NASCAR driver. And he brought up about the Confederate flag in NASCAR, which is mostly a southern sport with rednecks, no offense meant, but you're called rednecks. And you appreciate that reputation. Your guns and have a Confederate flag, which I've told Confederate friends of mine, you lost a war. Why do you want to promote a losing side? I go, being a sports guy, I like winners. When I was growing up, I was not a Steeler fan until they drafted Joe Green, and I saw that he was serious because he kicked people in where he shouldn't kick people, and he'd throw helmets and hit people, and he wanted to win so badly, like Smokin' Jim, he wouldn't shake anybody's hand. He'd kick them where, the sun doesn't shine. But that's when I became a Steeler fan, because guess what? I was a Green Bay Packer fan in the 60s. And what were they? Winners. We all like to win. You like to win in sports. That's why we play it. After we're done playing at the YMCA, where nobody keeps scores, even though the kids knew that they were winning 10-2, they wouldn't keep scores. When they started playing Little League, they kept scores. As they started playing other sports and football, what did everybody do? They kept scores. We had coaches like Smokin' Jim that would tell them, I want you to win this game no matter what. And that's what people believe. So how do we have a president that misrepresents a Bubba Wallace and then talks about they should have never taken the Confederate flag down at the NASCAR races, and then, no offense meant, but he said one of the dumbest things that I've heard because he believes about ratings. Now, I was reading some news on NASCAR races because I go, how can they even be getting any ratings at all because nobody's going there? Well, here, their ratings, let me explain this because I know a couple things. Their ratings are up on TV this year. So whatever you want to say about the guy in charge, stay off of Twitter, please. You're affecting me in sports, which I love. And I'll disagree with Smokin' Jim on the only essential sport because he's just blowing smoke because he likes to entertain. And I appreciate it. That's why we're best friends and we get along fine. But I had to bring this up because I didn't even know he tweeted it. And on Facebook, somebody said, here's a Twitter about Bubba Wallace. Then I saw the direct quote. So I'm still outraged. Sorry for my little bit of a rant, but I am one of your sports guys, and as you know, I'm one of the most honest sports guys that tell you the truth. When the Buccos suck, I tell you. When Duck's not doing the job that he should, I tell you. When his arm's too weak to hit the deep ball, I tell you. I don't tell you he's the greatest ever. When I hear about T.J. Watt, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. He's the best Steeler linebacker ever. I say, I'll wait till 6 or 7 years because I still got my money on Jack Ham and Jack Lambert. And why isn't Andy Russell in the Hall of Fame? I'm done. We'll be back with some fiction and fact from Smokin' Jim's Almanac. Thank you.
We're in the Stanley Cup final for the second year in a row, and here's Yager with the puck. Yager, nice move around right center to the backhand. Lets it go, he scores!
Earlier in that same week, I had a friend who was who had received some anti-Semitic remarks, and in doing that, I had an opportunity to say something to the person that made those remarks, and I didn't do it. I can think back to that morning, and I was getting ready, and I was thinking, am I going to say anything? What should I say? What's the right message to say? And I didn't. And then this happens 2 days later. And I wasn't consciously thinking about that situation whenever I was making the symbol, but I can't help but think that it had some sort of, background
That you
information.
wanted to be
Background,
proactive.
background in the back
Yeah.
of my head. It was swirling around there. So I think understanding and being able to recognize hate and then doing something about it. I used to think that it was just enough to, not be racist, not be sexist. Well, I'm not racist, so
Right.
that doesn't apply to me. Well, you have to stop it. The only way we're going to combat hate is with love. So we need to make sure that our messages, as we interact with people throughout the South Hills and throughout our community and throughout our world, that we're interacting with messages of love and hope.
Mark Ditbar throws. Here's a swing and a high fly ball going deep left. If they do it, back to the ball goes by. It is home run. The Pirates win.
Thanks, Al Levine, the talking machine. Thanks, Chipper, my man Ethan, and Anthony on the ones and twos. Hey, can you guys do me a favor? I need a favor from my white brothers next week.
Race card.
Can you bring
Second time today.
Can you hum or bring in or do a YouTube or something of the Black National Anthem? I've never seen it. I'd like to learn it.
Smoking Jim, I just have to bring this up as a disclaimer. I've known you, and you've told me you're a black man, but you know less about black people than any other black person I've ever met. I've been holding that in for 9 years. I just had to share it tonight because not only did you bring this up earlier, you brought it up again because you think it's funny. Now, you, of all people, your mission for me is find out what it is.
Do you want us to start the show with it?
Yeah, I got my hand on my
We already
heart.
got John O'Praskak's great painting of Three Rivers Stadium where the Steelers won Super Bowls like crazy.
Well,
Go ahead.
speaking of blacks,
You were.
in basketball, when people talk about the greatest team in city of Pittsburgh history, I've never seen the 71 Shenley team. A lot of people think that, or Kenny Durrett. Yeah, I know
Yeah,
you probably seen
I
Kenny
seen them.
play.
I met him.
I did see the 76 team play with Sam Clancy and Warnie Macklin. They were great.
Yeah.
But probably the team that I've seen that was probably the greatest City League team was the 2007 Shenley team with DeJuan Blair and those guys.
Yeah.
And they were so great that not only did they have a great point guard in Onion, they had DJ Kennedy,
Yeah.
who went on to play at St. John's, 6'7", 6'8". They had DeJuan Blair that dominated the pit. DeAndre Kane that played for Iowa, that was great. And a guy that could have played Division II basketball, DeJuan Blair's brother Greg, but he went to be a starting middle linebacker for a Division I football team and they're playing in the NFL a little bit. That team was great. They blew everybody out. But since graduating, DeJuan Blair played a little bit in the NBA. Some of them played in the NBA.
Sure.
DeJuan Blair was going to have a great career in China, but he was dating too many of the Chinese women. They sent him back home. But they've been playing in this league called the Elite something.
Yeah.
Winner take all. And for the last 4 years, it's a $2 million pot. And
Wow.
they won the last 4 years. This year, they won't be able to defend their title because two of the players, DJ Kennedy and DeJuan Blair, and you can trust my journalism on this,
I got to get 17 verifications of that.
they contracted corona,
Wow.
the corona. So they're
You told me earlier that black people don't get corona.
that's what I thought. And
You're
there's
so
more
far
black
wrong.
people that get it now than any. That's what
That's
what I was
why
told.
we're on Pittsburgh Sports Line because the misinformation is unbelievable.
So hey, They got shut down for 2 weeks as winter.
And what's your
take
point
all,
to this story?
Is they won't be able to defend their title.
That they won 4 years in a row.
Yeah, $2 million. $2 million.
So they're all millionaires now.
Well, you know, that money goes fast. I guess you got to split it with the whole team, I guess.
Well, I would think, yeah.
You know, and there's at least more than 5 players on the team. So, I mean, how much is
And everybody knows you bet $250 a day at the casino.
Yes, I ain't betting
So
on
my
that.
estimates are now $20,000 in cold hard cash on his table, piled up with a rubber band around $250. How many times?
I'm going to end up buying me one of them, you know, money machines.
Why?
That count your money.
Oh, really? You got so much there.
Huh? A lot of ones. But that's what's on my mind.
Thank you, Smoking Jim Frazier.
Well, being that there's not much going on in sports right now, and you know, I like the histories and the traditions of the game of Major League Baseball. You know, it's been the sport that's been played the longest in the United States. Major League Baseball's been around for over 150 years, 155, I think, maybe.
1867 was the first year. So
You know, so
153.
what I'm thinking is, as much as I would like to see baseball being played this year, and I don't know that it will be, even though they have a schedule set, but, you know, once again, there's
slipping through the cracks.
mitigating circumstances. So I think back to some of the great records of the game. And, you know, one of the records that we say is unapproachable, and I don't think in any of our lifetimes we're going to see it broken, is Joe DiMaggio's 56-game hitting streak. Another record that I think that if they do not put an asterisk on this season if it's played, and it also happened in the summer of 1941. And it was by the splendid splinter, Ted Williams. And he was the last man to bat 400 for a season. And I talked about that because last day of the season, Red Sox played a doubleheader. And his batting average, his season average would have been 400 on the nose had he sat out the last game. He would have batted 400 and won the batting title without playing an inning, but he decided to play both games of the doubleheader, went 6 for 8, and ended up with a batting average of
406.
406 in 1941. So baseball's a game where records or milestones are reached all the time. However, some marks are like they're set in stone and may never be reached again.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, if there's a record that could possibly be breached this year, if games are played, and they consider this a full Major League season, without an asterisk, would
Well, look at George Brett as an example.
be as if somebody would have batted 400 this year. So that got me to thinking, who are some of the players since 1941 that came closest to hitting 400?
I dropped a name.
And, well, the greatest hitter probably that I have seen in my lifetime. Now, Ted Williams retired in 1960. I was born in 1960. Do the math, Jim. I'll be 60 this year. Tony Gwynn in 1994 ended up the season with a batting average of 394. Wow.
Yeah. I saw him too, one of the best.
And Tony Gwynn had the best shot, unfortunately, for the Hall of Famer. He never got to finish out his quest for a milestone due to the 1994 season coming to a screeching halt.
Yeah.
The year of the strike. That was the year that the World Series was canceled. Gwynn was in the midst of one of his best years when the season came to an end on August 11th. He had a 14-game hitting streak going, was on pace to become the first batter since Williams to reach the mark. And unfortunately, it did not happen. Next up on the list,
What was he batting that year, you know?
394.
Oh, that was the year you was talking
That was the year he was batting 394. You know, Gwynn won a batting title in 1995 after batting 368. The closest he'd ever come to duplicating the 94 season was in 1997, but he fell short, finishing the year with a 372 average. Next up, George Brett, 1980. One of my favorite ball
Me
players.
too. Loved the
I
ball
loved
player.
it. He had such a sweet swing. kind of reminded me of Ken Griffey Jr.'s.
Yeah.
It was so effortless, and he could just
He
lace
was
the ball
smooth.
Was he the
smooth.
Pine Tar guy?
from foul line to foul line.
Yeah.
Aside from the famous Pine Tar incident and the stories of him pooping his pants, the Hall of Famer made a name for himself by being one of the game's best hitters. His greatest season, many thought Brett was going to finish the season batting 400,
I know I did.
but he ended up at 390 for the season.
I thought he would.
Quite
that
a
year.
remarkable thing. The next one, we go all the way back to 1977.
Whoa.
Probably the second or third best hitter I've seen in my lifetime, Rod Carew.
Oh.
Rod Carew batted 388 in 1997. Winning batting titles looked easy for the Hall of Famer. The Twins legend consistently hit for a high average. He'd take his best swing at 400 during the 77 season, in a season where he was named the American League MVP. He racked up 239 hits, 38 doubles, 16 triples, 14 home runs, and 100 RBIs.
Was he Cuban?
What that has anything to do with, I have no idea, but I digress. Next up on the list, in 1999, in the thin air of Denver, Colorado, Larry Walker
Oh, yeah.
batted 379. He seemed to have dominated baseballs in the 90s. After being the National League MVP in 97, Walker made a run for 400 during the 99 season, but the injuries slowed down his quest.
Yeah.
Next up on the list. This one takes us all the way back to the same year that the Cleveland Indians last won the World Series. Do you know what year that was, Jim?
No.
1948.
Okay, I was going to say before 1950. yeah.
And this was from a man who was a local legend.
Whoa.
Stan the
Man.
Man Musial. Played for the St. Louis Cardinals in 1948. He batted 376. And the interesting thing I find about Stan Musial, he had 3,630 hits.
Yeah.
1,815 from the right side, 1,815 from the left side.
The only guy in the MLB to ever do that. And he was a switch hitter. So, yeah.
Williams' 1941 effort, he came close. Musial was batting 408 in June, but he'd soon slip below 400 and finish the year out at 376. Next up on the list, a little more recent, and I don't really consider either of these two great hitters, Nomar Garciaparra and Todd Helton in the year 2000. Each of them batted 372. One in the National League, one in the American League. How many times did that happen in Major League history where the batting champion from each league had the same average? I bet that was the only.
Yes.
Next up, probably the greatest hitter that we have seen in our lifetime. And yes, I believe that he's a considerably better hitter than your famed Pete Rose. And he goes by one name, Ichiro. Ichiro Suzuki. He batted in 2004, 372. Ichiro had over 3,000 hits in the major leagues.
Yeah.
And he played a majority of his career in Japan.
What did he have there?
He
He had to have
his
thousands.
hit numbers would have been closer to 5,000 had he played his entire career in the United States. The man was a hitting machine.
He'd have hit more than Pete Rose, who's only a singles hitter.
His first 10 seasons, Ichiro hit over 300 and had his most standout season in 2004. He became the first player to have 4 months of at least 50 hits in a season. He went on to set a new Major League Baseball record for most hits in a season with 262, breaking George Sisler's record of 257 set in 1920.
Wow.
Despite the new mark for hits, Ichiro wasn't able to reach 400. So if a record is going to go down and baseball is played this year, I believe the 400 batting for a season, I do believe that if it does happen, an asterisk should be put next to it.
Sure, 60 games.
So there you go.
You got smoking raising a hand.
Yes, sir.
I just got one question. the bat 400, that means you get 4 hits out of 10.
Out of every 10 at bats. Yeah, and it happens so frequently that it last happened in 1941.
Smoking Jim, go back to my lesson. 1 + 1 = 2.
Seems like you should be able to bat 500 in the majors at least.
No, you played baseball,
Wait
but
a
we
minute.
can't
Wait a minute.
verify.
Wait a minute. You've got batters. You look at batters from past histories, from MVP seasons that struck out 36 times in a season, and then you look at like Aaron Judge or Giancarlo Stanton, two of the biggest stars in the game today, that strike out that many times in a week. Okay, and then you wonder why somebody can't get 4 hits and 10 at bats.
Well,
You never had that.
up till 1969, nobody went to the moon. I mean, what are you saying? I mean, it should. You should.
How's that correlate with baseball?
That means you fail 6 times out
Yeah.
of 10.
7. 7 out of 10, you get in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean,
300.
should-
And if it was
400
so
don't
easy
seem-
to do, it
No,
would have been
it
done.
should be easy. It should be easy.
Then that's why it's
Do
done
you
so
ever remember hitting
and
the
wait,
ball?
and that's why it's done so frequently.
I'm just saying. It's
Chip,
solid
there's a guy
record.
that says he was a pitcher and he was trying to strike out people, but he never, ever, folks, never, and he's an honest man, mentioned that he hit a baseball. Ever.
So you know when
I want to verify that
Right.
today.
You
He
know,
never
Jake,
hit a
you know,
baseball.
we used to have a chant when we were getting ragging on the pitcher when we were in Little
Yeah.
League. You know, we want a pitcher, not a glass of water.
All right, thank you, Chip. We appreciate the trivia and the little strike at Smoking Jim Frazier. On location, we're a little limited, hence you're probably at home practicing social distancing, watching the TV and us, so we appreciate you as fans. We love all our Pittsburgh Sportsline fans. We wish we could be in your house meeting you face to face, but we're trying to do it safe and try to be entertaining. On location's a little weak for me right now. Master Zhang in Wexford teaches Taekwondo. He's talking about a possible August show. So that would be up in Wexford. We may do that. We'll see how we can arrange that because safety comes first. As you know, I got 2 strikes against me, 2 anti-remission drugs I'm taking for my kidney. 9-month checkup was great, like I said, but I got those 2 strikes. And I'm over 60. You're catching up, Chip, so I appreciate that. And I got to be safe, so we'll be safe out there. Even Smoking Jim pulls out a mask when we're around, so I appreciate that. And then we're looking at the Jumbo and the Gumbo all together on the 22nd of August. And Smoking Jim and I may do a little preliminary show the week of July 20th. So coming up in a couple weeks, I haven't got any notification on us doing the preview show. So keep your calendar open on Monday or Wednesday of that week.
And if I might change the subject.
Yeah, go ahead.
completely, And this has nothing to do with anything. And I know you take some good-natured ribbing.
Yeah.
I think next week you should go for the Einstein look.
It's a good thing you brought that up. My son says I look like a mad scientist.
And there you go.
And
There you go.
I didn't want to announce it because you guys are good at ribbing me. But Marianne, who cuts my hair, we had it all set up for today. I get a message this morning, hey Al, I have to cancel. My mother fell. I'm taking her to the hospital.
Oh my goodness gracious!
She
I hope
goes,
she's okay.
so I go, prayers, take care. So I get a message in the afternoon. She goes, we got good and bad news. Bad news, she tore a ligament in her knee,
Oh.
and it's a tear. The thing she doesn't need is surgery. They just gave her cortisone and told her to go home and just take it easy. So they're hopeful that the cortisone, you can normally get 3 cortisone shots to help, then you're limited on that. But she's got to be in her late 80s. So God bless Mrs. Duke is her last name. I forget her first name. And I met her one time over at the Waterfront Theaters there. Her and her husband were there, and they come up. I'm with my girlfriend at the time. And they come up, and my girlfriend recognized them, said hi, and introduces me. And her dad goes, Al, you're one of the most handsome guys I've ever met. So I had to share that. That's what he said. Then he told Marianne that when he went home, and that just flabbergasted me. He turned 91 the other day.
God
So
bless him.
God bless
God
him.
bless him.
You know, just good people like that keeps me going with this show. And, you know, that's just where we're at. But On Location, stay tuned. If you have any ideas on how we can do it, maybe we'll do Zoom shows or something. But we can do it, maybe promote some places or gyms. I'm looking at that for down the road at some gyms. So we'll keep that in mind. And let's see, we're running out of time, but we got about 10 minutes or so. We're going with it. Thank you, Ethan. Thank you, Anthony. Live TV, folks, so you got to put up with us. We talked about some baseball and hockey and even football and things like that. So I wonder, have you watched any other sports, any of you?
As a matter of fact, yes. You know, the first weeks the sports came back, I watched a little bit of NASCAR, and watching live sports without
Fans.
an audience is kind of surreal. And it really came into focus last weekend at the whatever the golf tournament was, whatever sponsor it was.
Yeah.
Bryson DeChambeau is the guy who has put on. He looks more like an NFL linebacker than he does a golf pro.
Right.
And he absolutely smashes the ball. You know, here's a guy whose his driving average for the week was like 360 yards.
Really?
Yes, I saw him hit a drive 374 yards, and I'm just like, oh. You know, and when he would crush one of those golf balls and it would head straight down the fairway, and you didn't hear the oohs
Yeah.
and the ahs and somebody yelling, "Get in the hole!"
Yeah.
You know, it just
It took
was
something away.
something. You know, and then when guys were putting for an eagle, and the ball stopped a quarter of a turn from falling
heard
into
a
the cup,
sigh, yeah.
and you don't hear the gasp. You know, it just. It takes a little something away from it, but I did watch some of the golf, and you know, just because we had watched all the shows that we had on the DVR for the
Yeah.
week. I had a 3-day weekend
I
last
heard he
week.
drinks like 8 protein shakes a day or something like that.
Well, yeah, and Barry Bond used the clear and the cream, right? Yeah, and I think that sooner or later somebody's going to make him pee in a cup, and we're going to find out what helped him put on all that weight.
Sure.
But you know, for whatever it's worth, I mean,
He might just be big bones.
you've heard me say this before about baseball, and ladies love the long ball, and when you
Yeah.
crush the ball like that, now you know here's the thing: it's a double-edged sword. You hit the ball straight down the middle.
Right.
Oh man, you could be an all-pro, but you know how
You got to get it in a little
you
hole.
know, hit it to the right, hit it to the left, and then that's when the fun starts. And that's one of the things that Bryson was doing. Not every ball he hit was straight down the fairway. You
Sure.
know, so you know, it's something to watch in golf right now because I mean, for lack of anything better to watch, there really isn't anything. I mean, I can't watch the Premier League in soccer. I mean, the only time I watch any soccer matches is during the World Cup, the Men's World Cup, and the Women's World Cup. You know,
Well, I start every morning with the Japanese baseball league.
Do you?
I've been loving it, man. And I tell you what, and it's going to be quick, man.
was
I
that
see-
when they had the blow-up dolls?
No. There's no fans in the stands, which is perfect for baseball. You look like a Pirate game. But I tell you what, these guys, man, and they really play. And one time I seen a guy go for a double, right? And he's running for a double, and he got a red jersey on, red against the Blues. And he's running, and they got him out. And I've never seen this before.
jumps.
I don't know if it was the Kung Fu. He's sliding like this, and they're getting ready to tag him. He pulls this one back. I don't know if you've seen the highlights of it.
No, I
and
missed that.
goes with this hand. It is amazing. I mean, they showed it about 100 times. and
Smoking
it looked
Jim.
like they never tagged him, but his hand came off the bag a little bit, and he got tagged out. But the umpire was right there. to see it. But I mean, I've never seen
Smoking
such
Jim,
athleticism.
I gotta interrupt
like
you
the
because
Kung Fu.
Chip and I have watched sports for years.
Have you ever seen it?
We've
Have
seen
you ever
Maybe
watched,
Ichiro, did
wait,
Ichiro do
we-
that?
no, but
Because you
we've
got to
seen
know a
others.
little martial arts to
No,
switch
no,
hands like
no,
that.
we've seen other guys.
have you ever watched Josh Harrison on the base paths?
Not really.
Okay, then, you know,
He did that.
He's a magician out there.
Yeah.
Jay Hay.
You're right. You're right. I did remember
Even
his
Maury
first
Wills and stuff like that, Ricky Jackson, guys like
year. They
that.
was able to do that?
Smoking Jim.
Wow. That was
Ty
amazing
Cobb
to
would
hear.
do it because he'd sharpen his spikes.
He'd draw blood.
Really?
He'd put the spikes up and the hands would go back.
But them Japanese guys can play a little bit.
You're absolutely
Guess who
right.
they
I
learned
mean, you know,
from?
and the only reason why the Japanese are able to play and the Korean baseball organization is able to play
Maybe it was Korean.
because the people follow the protocols. Okay? They do as they're being asked to do, so they don't have the level of infections that we are getting here on a consistent basis because we are getting too many mixed messages. Okay, and subsequently, everybody's going to suffer for it, and it's a shame because as much as I want to see live sports this year, I don't think we will see them, and I think it will be catastrophic for any of the leagues to start play and to have to shut it
And I
down.
agree with
Oh,
you
yeah.
100%, Chip. Concentrate on football.
No, we
Forget
disagree.
everything
We
else.
disagree on that
No,
because
you know, Jim,
the football people are going to screw it up because they can't help it. Because
See, because here's what the problem is, Jim. You know, you got these guys and you're going to test them and they're together, and then they go home. Okay, so who are they going to be around when they're home? They're going to be around their children, their families, so they're potentially going to pass the virus to people that may be more at risk than they are. Okay, and you know
It's hard for them to comprehend that.
And you know, you've got elderly parents that don't have the immune systems that they need to be able to battle this. You know, these younger guys, when you're young, you're invincible. You can, you know, you don't realize your own mortality.
Hold it, even when you're smoking Jim at his unknown age, he thinks he's invincible.
But what does this have to do with me watching people play football on TV? I don't care what happens in their personal life.
Because they won't be playing.
Because when
They won't be playing. It'll fetch your betting.
Because
your betting.
when you've got a third of the team that tests positive and they have to quarantine the entire team and games can't be played, all it's going to take is one team to cancel a game. It's going to shut everybody down. How do you make it fair if you got 16 games scheduled and one of them can't be
The
played?
sky's not falling, Chip. You got
Hey,
people waiting
smoking,
in line
I just
to
gotta
play.
give you an update.
They're waiting in line to play.
Every other country out there is flatten the curve. They flatten the curve. The amount of people being sick has been cut down. Even New York City. We have a problem. We're not out of phase one, and we never flatten the curve. And guess what? It's growing. So we have more sick people than anybody in the world. We have more deaths in our country than anybody in the world, and we haven't even stopped what's going on yet. Now, when the flu season starts in October or so, they're going to have flu again, and you're going to have COVID come back worse. So if we're not even putting a little damper on it, just a little, to hold it back, we don't know what's going to happen. So it will affect you and others that don't
But
even
me,
know.
you, Chip, Ethan, and Anthony, we don't know anybody that has it.
I know.
Yes, I do. I know several people that have had it, and I know people.
I
that
know,
have,
but
I knew people that have died from it.
I'm sorry
are
to
we
hear that.
done? Nobody warned me.
Member of Steph's
Folks,
family
we got to say goodnight.
Sorry, I
died.
didn't know.
Thanks for watching our show. Please stay Joey strong.